Chapter 1. Breaking Free. The air in Mariana's family mansion hung heavy with tension, a mix of rich tobacco, rose-scented candles, and the bitter scent of betrayal. Outside, the sounds of Panama City were a distant murmur, the muffled buzz of traffic, faint music drifting from the nearby villas, and somewhere far away the steady hum of the sea. Dinner had been served nearly an hour ago, yet Mariana had barely touched her food. The once tantalizing aroma of grilled steak, garlic potatoes, and buttered asparagus had grown cold, now turning her stomach. Claribel had left early, whispering her encouragement as she squeezed Mariana's hand before disappearing into the twilight. Mariana shifted uncomfortably in the hard mahogany chair, its intricate carvings digging sharply into her back, a stark contrast to the silky fabric of her favourite white dress clinging gently to her skin. Her fingers nervously traced the delicate pattern of gold embroidery lining her sleeves, desperately seeking comfort in the familiar textures. At the head of the long, lavishly set table sat her father, Esteban Morales, head of Panama's most feared cartel. His piercing eyes, dark and unreadable, scrutinized her from beneath furrowed brows, making her pulse quicken. He was a powerful man, every word dripping with authority, every decision absolute. Her mother, perched stiffly to the side, stared at the floral centerpiece, her expression unreadable, her presence silent as ever. Mariana wondered if her mother felt anything anymore, or if years of living under Esteban's iron fist had stripped her of emotion entirely. "Your fiancé arrives tomorrow," her father stated casually, as if announcing the weather forecast. His voice, smooth and commanding, sliced through the heavy silence. Mariana's hand tightened around the fragile stem of her wineglass, heart hammering against her ribs. The words reverberated in her mind like an unwanted echo. "No," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly, yet filled with an unfamiliar resolve. Silence. Her father slowly set down his fork, the metallic clang echoing like a gunshot in the cavernous dining room. His cold eyes rose to meet hers, narrowing slightly. "What did you just say?" he asked softly, voice dangerously calm. The quiet was deafening, broken only by the faint ticking of the antique clock mounted behind him. Mariana swallowed, mustering every ounce of courage she had. "I said no." Her father's expression twisted briefly, a flicker of disbelief giving way to dark amusement. A sinister chuckle escaped his lips, sending chills racing down Mariana's spine. "You misunderstand, Mariana." He leaned forward, slightly, his manicured hands clasped tightly. "You're my daughter. Your life belongs to me until I say otherwise. Choices are a luxury reserved for others." His words sparked something inside her, an anger she'd suppressed for years suddenly flaring bright and fierce. "I'm not your property," Mariana replied sharply, her voice louder, stronger this time, echoing defiantly in the room. "I won't marry a man I don't know just because it suits your plans." Her father's eyes flashed dangerously, his jaw tightening visibly. The room grew colder, the scent of the candles suddenly cloying, suffocating her. "You think you can defy me, run from me?" He laughed bitterly, leaning back in his chair, arrogance dripping from every syllable. "Where would you go, Mariana? There's nowhere in this world I can't reach." Her breath quickened, panic rising inside her chest, but she stood, pushing back her chair with surprising strength, the wood scraping harshly against the marble floor. "I'll take my chances," she whispered defiantly, heart pounding painfully, her limbs shaking with adrenaline. She didn't wait for his reply, turning swiftly and striding toward the grand hallway. Mariana! His voice thundered behind her, commanding, angry, filled with a power that had terrified her since childhood. But this time, she didn't stop. She didn't look back. In her room, she quickly packed a small bag, cash hidden beneath layers of clothes, fake IDs Clarabelle had discreetly prepared, and the bare essentials needed to vanish. Her heart raced, palms sweaty as she moved swiftly through the motions, adrenaline overriding fear. The mansion, once a symbol of comfort and safety, had become a gilded cage, and tonight she intended to break free. Outside, Clarabelle waited anxiously, in the shadows by the servants' entrance, engine humming quietly. The humidity clung to their skin as Mariana climbed into the car, the scent of night-blooming jasmine floating through the open windows. Clarabelle shot her a worried glance. "You sure about this?" she asked softly, gripping the wheel tightly. Mariana hesitated only briefly, eyes fixed on the sprawling mansion now bathed in moonlight, its imposing structure growing smaller as Clarabelle eased the car forward. "I've never been more sure of anything." As they sped into the night, leaving behind everything familiar, Mariana felt exhilaration battling terror. She knew her father wouldn't let this go unanswered. She knew the danger she'd brought upon herself, upon Clarabelle. But for once, she was choosing her own fate, yet deep down, a cold, unsettling dread lingered. Her father's reach was long, his wrath legendary. The question remained, had she truly escaped, or had she merely started a war she wasn't prepared to fight? Day of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Mariana awoke to the distant hum of traffic far below her penthouse suite. She stretched slowly, savouring the luxurious caress of cool silk sheets against her warm skin. Sunlight filtered lazily through the sheer curtains, casting dancing patterns across the plush beige carpet and glossy marble floors. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to bask in the surreal sense of safety she'd found here. Far from the chaos of Panama, far from her father's reach. Clarabelle's loud knock rattled Mariana from her reverie. The bedroom door creaked, opened slightly, and Clarabelle peeked her head in, flashing a mischievous smile. "Buenos dias, Sleeping Beauty. Are you going to stay in bed all day, or are we hitting that rooftop pool?" Mariana rolled her eyes, grinning sleepily. "Let me at least have coffee first. Not all of us wake up wired like an espresso shot." Clarabelle laughed, closing the door with an exaggerated sigh. "Hurry up, then. Texas sunshine waits for no one." Mariana climbed out of bed, padding barefoot across the cool marble tiles into the lavish bathroom. The air smelled faintly of eucalyptus and lavender, courtesy of the extravagant bath products neatly arranged along the sink. She showered leisurely, washing away any lingering anxieties along with the sweet-scented bubbles, emerging refreshed, her mind clearer. After slipping into a swimsuit and wrapping herself in a soft, fluffy robe, Mariana joined Clarabelle in the spacious living area. Her friend handed her a steaming mug of rich Colombian coffee, its aroma filling the room and teasing her senses awake. She took a deep sip, letting the bold flavour anchor her back into reality. "Ready now, Your Highness?" Clarabelle teased. Mariana stuck her tongue out playfully. "Lead the way." The rooftop pool was even more stunning by daylight, a pristine oasis set against Houston's bustling skyline. Palm trees rustled softly in the breeze, and distant car horns sounded faintly from below. Mariana settled onto a plush lounge chair, the sun's warmth kissing her skin pleasantly, the scent of sunscreen and chlorine mingling in the air. Clarabelle glanced over her sunglasses, smirking. "I wonder if we'll bump into Mr. Tall, Dark and Delicious today." Mariana blushed, feigning nonchalance. "I have no idea who you're talking about." "Sure," Clarabelle laughed, "and you totally weren't staring at him all through dinner last night. Girl, You almost dropped your fork when he walked by." Mariana couldn't suppress her smile, heart fluttering at the mere memory of the mysterious man from the elevator. His voice, deep and smooth, echoed faintly in her thoughts. His intoxicating cologne lingered in her mind like an unshakable ghost. They spent the afternoon lounging, laughing, occasionally taking dips in the sparkling blue water to cool off from the relentless Texas heat. Mariana felt lighter than she had in years, her worries momentarily forgotten beneath the clear sky and carefree chatter. As evening approached, they returned to their suite, Mariana's thoughts still drifting back to him despite her best efforts. It was irrational to obsess over a stranger, but logic had clearly abandoned her the moment she'd boarded that plane to Houston. They dressed for dinner, Mariana in an elegant midnight blue dress that hugged her curves just right, Clarabel opting for a fiery red number. Feeling glamorous yet relaxed, they headed down to the lobby. As the elevator doors slid open, Mariana froze. There he was again, standing by the front desk, dressed impeccably in another tailored suit, laughing warmly with hotel staff. His presence dominated the room effortlessly, magnetic in a way she couldn't explain. Clarabel nudged her playfully. "Fate keeps throwing you together. Are you going to finally say something or just stare at him forever?" Mariana swallowed hard, her pulse quickening. Before she could decide, he turned, locking eyes with her immediately, as if sensing her presence. He offered a charming smile, eyes twinkling knowingly. "Twice in 2 days," he teased gently, stepping toward her. "People might start talking." Mariana laughed, nerves quickly fading in the warmth of his gaze. "Maybe they already are." His grin widened appreciatively, and he extended a hand. "Matthew. And you?" "Mariana," she said softly, her hand tingling pleasantly in his gentle but firm grip. "Mariana?" he repeated slowly, savouring her name like fine wine. "Would you and your friend care to join me for dinner? I know a fantastic place just a short walk away." Clarabel jumped in eagerly, not waiting for Mariana's reply. "We'd love to." The evening melted into laughter and easy conversation over mouth-watering Texan cuisine, grilled steaks sizzling deliciously, spicy shrimp tacos sending their senses spinning, and sweet tangy margaritas that loosened tongues and softened barriers. Mariana discovered that Matthew was witty, intelligent, and deeply passionate about his work in real estate, though he remained modest, never bragging, always genuine. After dinner, as they strolled back toward the hotel under soft streetlights, Matthew fell naturally into step beside Mariana, his shoulder lightly brushing hers. Her heart fluttered pleasantly with every accidental touch, every casual smile shared between them. "You know," Matthew said, voice softer now, intimate. "I travel a lot for work, but meeting someone like you, that doesn't happen often." Mariana flushed warmly, daring to meet his eyes. "Maybe fate really is involved." He laughed softly, nodding. "I'd like to believe so." They lingered outside the hotel, neither eager to say goodnight. Finally, Matthew leaned close, voice low and inviting. "I'm flying to Miami this weekend, just for relaxation, nothing fancy. Join me?" Her heart raced. It was impulsive, maybe even reckless, but his eyes, earnest and hopeful, melted away any hesitation. "I'd love to." He smiled, leaning closer, their faces inches apart. "Perfect. We'll talk details tomorrow." Mariana floated up to the suite, her heart soaring. Clarabel nudged her knowingly. "I think Texas just got hotter." Mariana laughed breathlessly, spinning happily around their penthouse. For the first time, she allowed herself to truly dream of romance, freedom, a life built on her terms. Little. Did she know, though, deep down in places she ignored, that bliss rarely comes without consequences? And as she lay in bed that night, smiling sleepily, a tiny voice whispered a warning she refused to hear. Be careful, Mariana. Freedom always has a price. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Miami greeted Mariana and Matthew with dazzling sunlight, vibrant music drifting lazily through the air, and the salty scent of the ocean. They had arrived early on a Friday morning, and as they stepped onto the warm pavement outside, the airport, Mariana drew in a deep breath, savouring every detail of this new place that felt both exotic and strangely comforting. Matthew had rented a sleek white convertible, the leather seats buttery soft beneath her fingertips. He turned up the radio, and Mariana laughed joyfully as the wind whipped through her hair, sending strands dancing around her face. They sped down highways lined with towering palm trees, the bright blue ocean sparkling enticingly in the distance. I key. Think I'm officially in love? Mariana called over the wind, stretching her arms overhead, drinking in the sunshine. Matthew smiled broadly, sunglasses glinting as he glanced over. With Miami? She tilted her head playfully. Maybe Miami has some competition. His deep chuckle filled the car, making her stomach flutter pleasantly. They parked near South Beach, strolling barefoot onto white sand so soft and warm it felt like powdered sugar between her toes. Mariana stared in awe at the turquoise waves, each crest catching sunlight like liquid diamonds. Matthew spread out a large beach towel, its colourful stripes vivid against the pale sand, and sat beside her. This suits you, he observed quietly, watching her face with admiration. Relaxed, happy. Mariana leaned into him slightly, heart beating faster at their closeness. It's been a long time since I felt this way. Free. He nodded thoughtfully, eyes scanning the endless ocean. Then let's make this weekend unforgettable. True to his word, Matthew filled their days with simple luxuries. They strolled leisurely through bustling street markets bursting with fresh fruits, spices, and handmade jewellery. Mariana laughed, eyes bright with excitement, sampling tangy citrus slices and sweet coconut candies, her fingers sticky but her heart carefree. They indulged in fresh seafood at open-air cafes, savouring, buttery lobster dripping with garlic sauce, crispy plantains seasoned to perfection, and sweet sangria that left her pleasantly dizzy. The nights came alive with salsa music spilling from lively clubs onto the sidewalks. Mariana loved how Matthew pulled her onto makeshift dance floors beneath strings of colourful lights, their bodies moving together effortlessly, the world around, them fading into a blur of laughter and warmth. Their final evening in Miami, Matthew surprised Mariana with a sunset yacht cruise. She stood on deck, the silky fabric of her white sundress fluttering softly against her skin, chilled champagne, bubbling gently in her glass. The sky erupted in brilliant shades of orange, pink and gold, and Mariana felt tears unexpectedly sting her eyes. Matthew moved behind her, arms encircling her waist, his warmth enveloping her completely. Everything okay? He murmured softly, against her ear. She smiled gently, leaning into him. Everything's perfect. I just wish we could stay in this moment forever. He kissed her temple softly. Maybe we can. Later, beneath a canopy of stars, with waves gently rocking the yacht, Mariana surrendered to the tenderness in Matthew's eyes. Their first kiss was sweet, yet charged with passion, his lips warm and soft, tasting faintly of champagne. One kiss led to another, each more insistent, more urgent, until they found themselves tangled together below deck, exploring each other, with whispered promises and tender touches. It was like nothing Mariana had ever experienced, a passionate connection, but also deeply comforting. Matthew held her afterwards, tracing gentle patterns on her bare shoulder. Her heart soared, completely at peace. Yet as she lay awake, listening to Matthew's steady breathing, Mariana felt an uneasy flutter beneath her bliss. She was falling, hard, maybe too fast. Secrets still lingered between them. Matthew knew nothing of her past, nothing of her father's power or the arranged marriage she'd fled. For now, she buried the anxiety deep, allowing sleep to claim her. Their return to Houston came with a subtle shift. Mariana and Matthew fell naturally into a rhythm together. Romantic dinners, lazy mornings tangled in sheets, evenings spent, talking endlessly about their dreams. Weeks became months, filled with laughter, love, and an intimacy that deepened each day. Matthew even introduced her to his closest friends, and Mariana loved seeing glimpses of his life outside their private bubble. Clarabelle constantly teased her about their relationship, endlessly thrilled at Mariana's newfound happiness. Yet, beneath the joy lay a nagging anxiety. Mariana knew they couldn't hide in blissful ignorance forever. Each morning she woke, bracing for the inevitable. Each day that passed without trouble felt borrowed, fragile. One afternoon, lounging in their suite, Mariana's phone rang, a burner phone she only used for emergencies. Clarabelle's voice trembled on the other end. "Mariana, something's happened. One of my contacts reached out. Someone's been asking questions back in Panama. They haven't found us yet, but they're getting closer." The news hit like ice water down her spine. Mariana's fingers shook, her breath catching painfully in her throat. Clarabelle quickly assured her they still had time, but Mariana knew it wouldn't last. Her father's cartel never gave up easily. She ended the call abruptly as Matthew entered, eyes brightening when he saw her. His expression quickly shifted to concern. "What's wrong, Mariana? You look terrified." She swallowed hard, desperately wanting to shield him but knowing it was pointless. She couldn't keep hiding the truth. "It's my father. He's looking for me," she admitted softly, her voice cracking. Matthew moved quickly, kneeling, before her, gently cupping her trembling hands. "Why would your father be after you?" Mariana's eyes filled with tears. She took a shuddering breath and finally said the words she'd been dreading. "He runs a cartel. I fled Panama because he arranged a marriage for me. He's powerful, Matthew. Dangerous." Silence filled the room, heavy and painful. Mariana braced herself for Matthew's reaction. Anger, fear, rejection. Instead, Matthew's grip tightened protectively, determination igniting in his gaze. "Listen to me. You're not alone anymore. We'll handle this together. No one's going to take you from me." His words flooded her with relief, gratitude, and love. But deep down, Mariana couldn't shake a terrifying suspicion that by loving Matthew, she'd unwittingly dragged him directly into the cartel's crosshairs, and if her father found them, there would be nowhere left to hide. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Days after Mariana confessed the truth about her past, life settled into a strange yet comforting new normal. Matthew was more protective, but his warmth never wavered, his embrace just as comforting, his kisses still sweet enough to silence her anxieties, at least temporarily. But Mariana couldn't shake the persistent unease that crept into her dreams each night. She woke frequently, heart racing, expecting to find danger lurking around every corner. She tried distracting herself, throwing herself into their daily routine, breakfasts overlooking Houston's skyline, late-night strolls through parks filled with the scent of blooming jasmine, but she knew the peace was fragile, temporary at best. One morning, as she stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, Matthew surprised her by appearing in the doorway, suitcase in hand, a playful grin lighting his handsome face. "Pack your things," he announced casually. "We're taking a little trip." Mariana raised an eyebrow, setting her coffee mug down carefully. "A trip? To where?" His smile turned mysterious, eyes twinkling mischievously. "Somewhere you'll be safe. A place I've wanted to show you for a while." She hesitated, curiosity battling with her cautious instincts. Yet Matthew's excitement was contagious, and the thought of leaving behind the anxieties of their current reality was deeply appealing. With a soft sigh, she gave in. An hour later they were driving out of the bustling city, the scenery gradually shifting from towering skyscrapers to rolling green countryside dotted with cattle ranches and fields of wildflowers. The car smelled of leather and Matthew's familiar cologne, soothing her nerves. Eventually, they reached a gated community, discreet but luxurious, nestled amongst sprawling estates and lush greenery. Security guards waved them through respectfully, clearly familiar with Matthew. Mariana glanced around, slightly bewildered. "You have friends here?" Matthew laughed softly, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "Something like that." As they turned, onto a private driveway lined with carefully manicured shrubs, Mariana gasped softly. Ahead stood a mansion that seemed plucked from a magazine cover, majestic yet tasteful, cream-coloured stone accented with large windows reflecting the Texas sunlight. Her pulse quickened, both excited and strangely uneasy. "Whose house is this?" she asked hesitantly as they parked. Matthew paused briefly, eyes serious now. "It's mine." Mariana's mouth fell open. "Yours?" He nodded, smiling gently. "I wanted somewhere safe for you, somewhere completely secure. But there's something else I need to explain first." Her heart fluttered nervously at his solemn tone. Before she could question further, the heavy wooden doors swung open, revealing an impossibly beautiful woman standing gracefully in the foyer. Her golden complexion and silky waves of dark hair immediately caught Mariana's attention. The woman stepped forward confidently, extending her hand warmly. "You must be Mariana, I'm Leilani." Confusion spiraled through Mariana. She glanced at Matthew, searching his face desperately for answers, but his expression had turned unreadable. "Leilani is my wife," Matthew finally admitted softly, his voice gentle yet filled with a caution Mariana hadn't heard before. "It's not as simple as it sounds. There's more I need to tell you." Shock stole Mariana's breath. "Your wife?" she managed weakly, stepping backward instinctively. The luxurious walls suddenly felt suffocating, the polished marble beneath her, feet suddenly cold and unforgiving. Matthew reached toward her urgently, worry filling his eyes. "Mariana, please hear me out." But panic surged within her, drowning out his voice. She bolted upstairs blindly, stumbling into a guest bedroom, locking herself inside. Tears burned her eyes, heart breaking painfully. Betrayal sliced deep, leaving her gasping for breath. Hours blurred together in her solitude, daylight fading slowly into night. She heard occasional footsteps outside, murmured conversations, gentle knocks at her door, but ignored them all, consumed by anger and grief. Finally, exhaustion took hold, dragging Mariana into restless sleep. Her dreams twisted darkly, haunted by visions of her father, Matthew's betrayal, and now Leilani's beautiful face, a haunting reminder of what she couldn't have. The next morning brought reluctant clarity. Mariana paced anxiously, debating. whether to run or face the painful truth. Just as she resolved to leave, a soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Mariana?" It was Leilani's voice, calm, gentle, unexpectedly kind. "Please, let's talk. Just us." Mariana hesitated, heart pounding nervously, but something sincere in Leilani's voice made her unlock the door. Leilani stepped inside slowly, her presence surprisingly soothing, bringing a calming scent of vanilla and sandalwood. "Let me guess. This wasn't what you expected." Leilani began softly, sitting gracefully on the edge of the bed, meeting Mariana's gaze directly. Mariana laughed humorlessly, fighting back fresh tears. "Not exactly," Leilani sighed gently. "Matthew should have told you sooner. He wanted to, but things happened quickly between you, and then your situation with the cartel complicated everything." Mariana shook her head bitterly. "So you're okay with your husband falling in love with someone else?" Leilani smiled softly, patiently. "We live differently. Matthew believes in polygyny, multiple relationships, openly, honestly. It's unconventional, yes, but built on trust and respect." Mariana frowned, skeptical. "You really accept it?" "Not easily at first," Leilani admitted honestly, her voice thoughtful. "But Matthew's heart is big enough to genuinely love more than one person, and in return, we respect and care for one another." "It's not perfect, but it works." Mariana sat silently, overwhelmed by mixed emotions. Could she truly share Matthew's love? Could she ever trust again after feeling betrayed? A soft knock interrupted them again. Matthew standing quietly in the doorway, eyes pleading. "I'll leave if you want," he offered quietly. "But please know, Mariana, I've never meant to hurt you." Leilani stood, placing a comforting hand on Mariana's shoulder before leaving. Mariana faced Matthew alone, heart aching painfully. "You've turned my world upside down," she whispered shakily. "I know," Matthew admitted sadly, stepping closer but still respectful of her space. "But please, give me the chance to prove how much you mean to me." Mariana hesitated, heart torn. She still loved him deeply, more than she'd ever imagined possible. But could she truly accept sharing him? Before she could respond, her phone buzzed urgently, a burner number. Clarabelle's text flashed urgently on screen. "Mariana, cartel spotted near Houston." "They're close." Fear surged sharply, washing away everything else. She stared desperately at Matthew, voice shaking. "They found me." Matthew moved swiftly, his eyes blazing with determination. "Then we fight together. I'm not letting anyone take you away from me." His words steadied her nerves temporarily, but deep down, Mariana wondered if they stood any real chance. The cartel was relentless, her father ruthless. But as she allowed Matthew's strong arms to encircle her, she chose to cling desperately, to hope that their unconventional love could withstand whatever storm was coming. Yet a quiet voice whispered darkly at the edge of her mind, "You can't outrun fate forever." End of Chapter 4. Chapter 5. In the days following Clarabelle's urgent warning, life inside Matthew's mansion transformed dramatically. Mariana felt trapped, caught somewhere between luxury and paranoia. The estate, once welcoming and vibrant, had become a fortress. Guards stationed discreetly around the perimeter, hidden cameras watching every angle, their red blinking lights reminding her of the danger just beyond these walls. Matthew's protective instincts kicked into overdrive, his usual. Warmth now mingled with cautious anxiety. Yet despite the tension, Mariana couldn't deny how reassuring his presence was. Every embrace, every whispered reassurance, seemed to anchor her sanity amidst chaos. Leilani, unexpectedly, became Mariana's ally. She gently guided her through the strange nuances of their unconventional arrangement, patiently answering every awkward question Mariana hesitated to ask. Mariana was astonished to discover genuine respect and kindness in Leilani, a quiet strength she began to deeply admire. Yet Mariana remained conflicted. Matthew had been her dream, her escape from a life of control. But could she truly share his heart, his life, without losing herself? A new, unsettling development soon complicated things further. One morning, nausea twisted Mariana awake, sending her sprinting into the pristine marble bathroom. As she knelt shakily beside the toilet, realization dawned slowly, dread coiling sharply in her gut. It couldn't be. Hands trembling, Mariana contacted the mansion's discreet, loyal butler. An hour later, 2 pregnancy tests arrived via a hushed, careful delivery. Alone, heart hammering in her chest, Mariana waited anxiously for results. Both tests confirmed her fear, or perhaps her hope. She was pregnant. Her knees buckled weakly beneath her, panic rising fast. Tears spilled unchecked down her cheeks. A child, Matthew's child, growing inside her, complicating an already impossible situation. How could she bring an innocent life into the chaos she'd fled from? She spent the day hidden behind her locked bedroom door, refusing meals, ignoring Matthew's gentle knocks. Clarabelle texted desperately. Leilani left soft-voiced messages. Mariana ignored them all, overwhelmed by swirling emotions and crippling fear. The following afternoon, Matthew's concerned voice filtered gently through her door once more. "Mariana, please, just tell me you're okay." She finally responded sharply, desperation colouring her voice. "Go away, Matthew." He paused, his silence heavy with hurt. "All right, I'm heading back to Houston briefly to secure some things. At the hotel. But we need to talk when I return." She didn't respond. His footsteps faded down the hall, leaving an emptiness she instantly regretted. Minutes later, another gentle knock startled Mariana. It was Leilani, her voice calm, reassuring. "Mariana, I know I'm probably the last person you want to see." "Right now. But you shouldn't go through this alone. Please, let's talk." Mariana hesitated, then unlocked the door. Leilani entered quietly, her gentle expression bringing unexpected comfort. Downstairs, Clarabelle hovered anxiously nearby, relieved her friend had finally emerged. Over steaming mugs of soothing mint tea, Mariana reluctantly shared her pregnancy revelation with Leilani. Her eyes welled with tears again, voice trembling, with confusion. "I don't know what to do. I never imagined this. Everything feels out of control." Leilani's reaction was thoughtful, sympathetic, but Mariana detected something else, something deeper, hidden beneath the carefully controlled calm. Finally, Leilani took a deep breath, offering a faint smile. "There's something else you need to know, Mariana. Something Matthew was planning to tell you, but this situation got complicated quickly. You're not the only one expecting." Mariana stared blankly. "What?" Leilani exhaled slowly. "I'm pregnant too. 3 months now. I know how overwhelming this is for you because it's overwhelming for me too." Mariana felt like the ground had shifted beneath her again, leaving her dizzy, breathless. Her mind struggled to grasp. Reality, 2 women, 2 pregnancies, both connected to one man. She laughed humorlessly, the sound sharp and bitter. "My life has become a novella." Leilani smiled sympathetically, placing a reassuring hand on Mariana's arm. "We'll figure this out, together, I promise." But Mariana couldn't see how. She felt painfully trapped between 2 impossible, Lives. Her father's ruthless control behind her, Matthew's complicated love ahead. Now, 2 innocent lives depended on choices she felt completely unequipped to make. 2 days later, Matthew returned, his face pale, eyes serious. They gathered in the living room, Matthew, Leilani, Mariana and Clarabelle, who insisted on supporting her friend. The tension was palpable, Mariana's heartbeat loud in her ears. Matthew wasted no time, voice firm. Cartel scouts were spotted again. Your father's men are closing in. We need to decide our next move. Fear squeezed Mariana's chest painfully, but she forced herself to stay calm. After a moment she stood, stepping closer to Matthew, her voice trembling yet resolute. I can't hide forever. Maybe I need to face him, explain things, protect all of you. Matthew shook his head fiercely, eyes blazing. Absolutely not. We face this together. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. His fierce protectiveness moved her deeply, yet Mariana knew her father better than anyone. If he finds me, he'll hurt everyone around me. You, Leilani, are babies. I won't allow that. Clarabelle suddenly spoke, urgency in her voice. Let me make some calls. Maybe we can negotiate something, arrange safe passage, protection. Mariana nodded weakly, hope flickering faintly. Clarabelle moved quickly, calling her contacts discreetly. Matthew turned back to Mariana, gently taking her hands. I promise you, Mariana, we will figure this out, whatever it takes. She wanted, desperately, to believe him, but deep inside her heart, fear whispered darkly. Matthew might promise safety, but he'd never truly faced the cartel's wrath. Her father was a relentless storm, powerful enough to destroy anything standing in his path, and as Mariana gently touched her belly, silently promising to protect her unborn child, she knew that storm was coming for her, whether she was ready or not. End of Chapter 5. Chapter 6. Tense quiet settled over Matthew's sprawling mansion in the following days, broken only by the muffled footsteps of security patrols or the whispered phone calls Clarabelle made incessantly, always hunting for any scrap of useful intel. Mariana felt trapped, haunted equally by her father's shadow and the unexpected pregnancy that had shaken her life to its core. Each morning began with a wave of nausea, a bitter reminder of her tangled reality, and the persistent scent of ginger tea Leilani brewed to soothe her stomach became an unwelcome constant. The 2 women had formed a quiet, careful alliance, brought together by their circumstances and Matthew's love. Mariana couldn't help but notice the genuine kindness in Leilani's actions. A thoughtful meal left outside her room, comforting words whispered at precisely the right moment, or a reassuring glance when fear overtook reason. Yet an invisible wall remained. Mariana found herself analysing every subtle exchange between Matthew and Leilani, torturing herself over tender glances, shared laughs, whispered conversations, small moments that drove painful reminders of her uncertain place in their world. 1. Evening. Restless and anxious, Mariana paced the hallways, the cool marble floors soothing against her bare feet. She paused briefly by Matthew's study, drawn by the soft murmuring inside. The door stood slightly ajar, offering glimpses of Matthew hunched over his desk, head bowed as he spoke quietly into his phone. Yes, I understand, he murmured, voice tight with controlled worry. Double security. Keep eyes everywhere. Mariana's chest tightened painfully, her guilt intensifying. Matthew had taken on her danger as his own, risking everything. She turned abruptly, intending to slip silently away, but his voice stopped her. Mariana? She hesitated, heart racing, and slowly entered the dimly lit room. Matthew set his phone aside, his expression softening instantly as he approached her. "You okay?" he asked gently, reaching carefully for her hand. His touch was warm, comforting, yet fragile, as if afraid she might shatter beneath his fingertips. She sighed softly, shaking her head. "How can you still care so much, Matthew? After everything I've brought into your life, danger, chaos, complications." He gently cupped her face, his thumb brushing tenderly across her cheek. "Because none of that matters more than you, than us. I chose you, Mariana. Danger or no danger, complicated or not. I'm here." His words melted something inside her, breaking through her walls. She leaned into his touch, desperate for the reassurance she found in his embrace. But the gentle creak of floorboards interrupted their intimacy. Leilani stood quietly in the doorway, eyes flickering briefly with hurt before quickly masking it. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude," she murmured softly, stepping back. "Quickly." Mariana's heart twisted with guilt. "Wait, Leilani!" But the other woman retreated swiftly, leaving an awkward silence behind. Matthew sighed heavily, rubbing his face tiredly. "This isn't easy for any of us, Mariana," he said gently, "but it can work if we're honest and patient." Mariana felt her emotions crash inwardly, turmoil boiling over. "How, Matthew? How can this ever work?" He met her gaze, determined yet gentle. "Because we'll fight for it." She nodded silently, knowing her heart was already irrevocably bound to him. Still, doubts lingered, unanswered. Later that evening, as Mariana lay awake, sleep evading her again, her phone vibrated sharply. She grabbed it, heart thundering, a text from Clarabelle. "Come downstairs, now. Important." Mariana quickly dressed, slipping silently down to the patio, finding Clarabelle waiting anxiously beneath the soft glow of moonlight. Her friend's eyes were wide, intense. "What's wrong?" Mariana whispered, her pulse quickening. Clarabelle took a shaky breath. "My source back home confirmed. Your father's cartel just landed in Houston. They're actively searching." The ground seemed to tilt beneath Mariana, her vision darkening momentarily. Panic surged sharply. "Here? Already?" Clarabelle nodded grimly. "They're staying discreet, but they're close. Too close. They tracked your passport from Panama." "To hear. It's only a matter of time before they find this mansion." Mariana's voice shook. "I've put everyone in danger. You, Matthew, Leilani, the babies." Clarabelle gripped her arm firmly. "We chose this too, Mariana. You don't have to carry it alone." Mariana swallowed hard, knowing her friend was right but still racked with guilt. "I need to end this." Clarabelle hesitated. "How?" Mariana straightened her shoulders, suddenly resolute. "I have to talk to my father, tell him I'm safe and that this stops now." Clarabelle's eyes widened in horror. "Mariana, that's insane." But Mariana shook her head fiercely. "It's the only way, otherwise we'll live in fear forever." Before Clarabelle could argue further, Mariana made a choice. She dialed the number she'd dreaded using again, the direct line to her father's private phone. The deep, familiar voice answered instantly, sharp yet tinged with urgency. "Mariana?" She steadied her trembling voice. "Papa, escúchame bien, I'm safe, but you must call off your men right now." He laughed darkly, chilling her spine. "And why would I do that? You belong home, Mariana." She clenched her jaw, voice hardening. "Because I'm pregnant. Your grandchild grows within me, and if you harm anyone I love, you'll never know your family. Ever." Silence stretched painfully, seconds turning to eternity. Then finally, her father's voice softened slightly, a hint of vulnerability slipping through. "My grandchild?" "Yes," Mariana whispered, tears burning her eyes. "But only if you let us go." A long, heavy pause followed. Then quietly, resignedly, he sighed. "Fine. For now, Mariana. But this isn't over. Not yet." She hung, up quickly, heart hammering. Claribel watched anxiously. "Well?" Mariana exhaled slowly. "He'll withdraw for now. But we're still not safe." As they walked back inside, Mariana knew she'd bought them temporary safety at best. Her father's final words haunted her. This wasn't over. Not even close. Yet for tonight, she allowed herself a brief flicker of hope. Perhaps for a moment, they could breathe without fear. But deep inside, a voice whispered the truth she knew too well. Her father never let go easily, and someday soon he'd demand the debt she owed. End of Chapter 6. Chapter 7. For a brief, precious moment, life inside Matthew's mansion regained a fragile sense of normalcy. Mariana's father had withdrawn his men as promised, but the knowledge of his lingering threat hung over the household like a storm, cloud on a distant horizon, always visible, always threatening, even on bright days. Mariana now spent her mornings in quiet solitude, walking slowly through the lush gardens, savouring scents of roses, jasmine, and freshly cut grass. She placed a gentle hand on her still flat belly, whispering soft promises to her unborn child, praying she could keep them. But tension simmered beneath the mansion's calm surface. Matthew remained vigilant, keeping security measures heightened, despite Mariana's reassurances. His protectiveness had become fiercer, his touch gentler yet more possessive, as if he feared she'd vanish without warning. Leilani carried her pregnancy gracefully, though Mariana noticed occasional sadness flickering behind her serene smile. Mariana understood. Sharing Matthew's affection was complicated enough, but sharing pregnancy, the intimate milestone they'd each imagined differently, felt even harder. One morning, Mariana sat quietly on the terrace, sipping mint tea, when Leilani joined her silently. They exchanged small smiles, comfortable yet cautious. Leilani sighed softly, breaking the silence first. "Matthew loves fiercely, but he's never faced anything like your father's cartel. He's scared, not just for you, but for us all." Mariana nodded quietly, guilt pressing heavily again. "I'm sorry. This wasn't what I wanted." Leilani shook her head gently, her voice firm yet understanding. "None of this is your fault, Mariana. I knew Matthew's lifestyle when I married him. I accepted complications might arise, but I admit I never imagined anything like this." Mariana offered a faint, rueful smile. "Trust me, neither did I." Leilani hesitated briefly, then gently took Mariana's hand, surprising her. "Whatever comes next, we face it together. Promise me." Touched, Mariana squeezed her hand softly. Together. Their quiet alliance felt like a tentative lifeline, something stable amidst their turbulent lives. For now, it was enough. That fragile peace shattered abruptly days later, when Claribel burst urgently into Mariana's room, panic wild in her eyes. "Mariana, something's happened at Matthew's hotel. Cartel men were spotted again, watching the lobby. They haven't moved yet, but they're definitely there." Cold fear sliced sharply through Mariana's veins. "No. He promised he'd withdraw." Claribel shook her head urgently. "Your father might have, but his men clearly aren't obeying. They're here." Mariana's heart slammed painfully. They'd never truly been safe. Her father's control was slipping, his men now dangerous, unpredictable. Matthew appeared moments later, expression grim. "We're leaving immediately. We'll stay hidden until we figure this out." They moved swiftly, packing essentials hastily, silence heavy. Mariana's throat tightened painfully at Leilani's worried expression, Clarabelle's determined yet fearful eyes, Matthew's tense jawline. Within an hour, their small group sped down quiet back roads, abandoning the luxurious mansion that had briefly felt like home. Mariana watched in silent sorrow as safety faded behind them. They settled temporarily into a discreet safe house, simple, comfortable, yet starkly unfamiliar compared to Matthew's luxurious home. The walls seemed thin, the rooms small, making Mariana feel exposed despite the armed guards stationed discreetly around the perimeter. Matthew spoke softly, his voice controlled yet strained. "We'll lay low here while I arrange something permanent. Mariana, I need to know, is there anything else your father might want? Any leverage left he might use?" Mariana hesitated, her pulse quickening nervously. "Only me. And maybe the child." He winced visibly, quickly covering it with steely determination. "Then we protect both fiercely." Late that night, unable to sleep, Mariana stepped quietly onto the porch, moonlight casting silvery shadows around her. Her stomach churned anxiously, uncertainty clawing at her resolve. Footsteps startled her briefly. Matthew, eyes gentle yet worried, wrapped an arm protectively around her shoulders. "Can't sleep either?" he asked softly, pressing a tender kiss to her temple. She sighed quietly, leaning into him. "How could... I've brought chaos into your life, Leilani's life, Clarabelle's life." Matthew shook his head firmly, turning to face her, eyes blazing passionately. "No, Mariana. You brought life into mine. Real life. Love, passion, purpose. I'd risk anything to protect it." His words ignited warmth in her chest, yet her anxiety remained persistent. "But how long until someone gets hurt?" Before Matthew could reply, urgent shouting erupted nearby, security guards' voices raised sharply, gunshots suddenly echoing, shattering the night's fragile silence. Fear surged sharply through Mariana. Matthew moved instantly, guiding her protectively inside as chaos erupted outside. Clarabelle hurried downstairs urgently, eyes wide, terrified. "What's happening?" Mariana shouted desperately. Clarabelle's voice trembled. "Cartel, they found us!" Matthew shouted orders rapidly, chaos intensifying. He turned urgently to Mariana. "Take Clarabelle and Leilani to the basement. Hide, now." "No, Matthew," Mariana protested, terrified for him. His voice was fierce, desperate. "I promise to protect you, Mariana. Please, go." Heart-wrenching. Painfully, Mariana allowed Clarabelle to drag her downstairs. They found Leilani already waiting anxiously. Gunshots echoed louder, glass shattering upstairs. Huddled together, hearts pounding painfully, Mariana prayed silently, desperately. She'd tried outrunning fate, but fate had finally caught up. Suddenly footsteps pounded urgently toward their hiding place. Mariana froze, panic overwhelming. The door swung open violently. Matthew, face pale but determined, voice urgent. "We're clear for now, but we need to move quickly." Mariana's breath caught painfully. "Where?" His voice was grimly resolute. "Somewhere they'll never expect, Panama. It's time to face your father directly." Shock stole Mariana's breath completely. Return home? Confront her father's wrath? Yet Matthew's eyes were fiercely determined, promising strength, and safety beside her. Heart hammering, Mariana finally nodded weakly, knowing it was time. She'd spent months running, but now she'd confront the storm head-on, even if it cost everything she loved. End of Chapter 7. Chapter 8. The air in Panama was thick, heavy with humidity and tension, instantly suffocating Mariana as she stepped off the private plane onto familiar soil. The scent of tropical flowers mingled with the acrid smell of jet fuel, invoking conflicting emotions: home, fear, and memories she'd desperately tried to bury. Matthew moved protectively beside her, his grip firm yet gentle on her waist, a silent reassurance that he was still here, still ready to fight alongside her. Claribel trailed just behind them, her eyes wide and alert, visibly tense, while Leilani walked slowly, quietly observing the unfamiliar surroundings. A discreet convoy awaited them, black SUVs idling silently in the afternoon heat. Mariana's. Pulse quickened painfully as the vehicle doors closed around them, sealing their fate. As the cars pulled away smoothly, Mariana stared through tinted windows at the vibrant city she'd fled months ago. Familiar streets, bustling markets, and the colourful chaos she'd once called home felt strangely foreign now, tainted by her father's shadow. Matthew gently took her hand, squeezing softly. "We'll get through this," he murmured reassuringly. Mariana nodded weakly, forcing a small smile. She desperately wanted to believe him, yet doubts crept insidiously into her mind. Facing her father directly felt like entering a lion's den, especially now carrying a secret she knew he'd never accept. The cartel compound soon appeared, gates looming ominously, opening silently to allow entry. Mariana's chest tightened, painfully. Returning here felt like surrendering to a nightmare she couldn't escape. Guards watched impassively, their cold gazes sending chills down her spine. Inside, Mariana's father waited. Esteban Morales, head of Panama's most feared. Cartel, seated regally behind a massive wooden desk. His sharp eyes instantly fixed on Mariana, narrowing slightly, though something unreadable flickered briefly beneath his harsh expression. "Mariana," he stated calmly, voice deceptively neutral. "You returned willingly. Brave." Mariana steadied, her voice meeting his gaze directly. "I returned to protect those I love, to end this madness." Esteban chuckled softly, coldly. "You misunderstand, Mariana. This isn't madness. It's family. Loyalty. Something you betrayed." Matthew stepped forward firmly, facing Esteban confidently. "Your daughter deserves freedom, not to be used as a pawn. We're here to negotiate peace." Esteban's expression darkened dangerously, voice lowering menacingly. "Careful, gringo. You're in my home now." Mariana quickly intervened, desperate, to diffuse escalating tension. "Papa, enough threats. You have grandchildren coming. They deserve safety. Peace, not violence." Her father hesitated briefly, surprise flashing momentarily behind his carefully controlled mask. "Grandchildren?" Leilani stepped forward bravely, voice soft but steady. "Yes, both of us are pregnant, both of us carrying Matthew's children." Shock rippled visibly across Esteban's expression, his gaze flickering between Mariana, Matthew, and Leilani, confusion and anger warring openly in his eyes. "You dishonor yourself, Mariana," he spat bitterly. "Sharing a man? Raising children like this?" Mariana straightened defiantly, voice steady. "I choose this life, Papa, not one controlled by your rules. Accept it or lose us all. Forever." Esteban's jaw tightened visibly, his voice dangerously calm. "You threaten your own father?" Mariana held firm, even as fear churned her stomach violently. I speak honestly. I love Matthew. I respect Leilani. These children will know love, not fear. The room fell deathly silent, tension thick enough to choke. Finally, after what felt like eternity, Esteban exhaled slowly, reluctantly relenting slightly. Stay, for now. Under my protection. But your choices have consequences, Mariana. Remember that. Relief flooded Mariana momentarily, but her father's lingering threat resonated sharply. They'd secured temporary safety, yet true peace felt impossibly distant. In the days that followed, uneasy quiet settled within the compound. Mariana's father grudgingly tolerated their presence, yet Mariana constantly sensed his simmering anger, barely concealed beneath carefully maintained politeness. Matthew, ever vigilant, strategized discreetly, arranging their safe departure, protecting Mariana fiercely. Yet Mariana's anxieties grew persistently. How long until her father's patience snapped violently? One afternoon, nausea overwhelmed her unexpectedly, sending Mariana hurrying from lunch toward the nearest bathroom. Leilani followed discreetly, concerned yet silent. As Mariana steadied herself shakily afterward, rinsing her face, Leilani's gentle voice startled her. I understand your father's anger now, she murmured softly. I felt it too, seeing Matthew's love divided. Mariana turned slowly, heart twisting painfully. I never wanted to hurt you. Leilani smiled faintly, sadness colouring her expression. It's strange. I see why Matthew loves you, but it still hurts sometimes. Mariana nodded silently, guilt tightening her chest again. Before she could respond, raised voices echoed sharply, from downstairs, drawing their attention instantly. Rushing urgently toward the commotion, Mariana's stomach dropped painfully as they entered the study. Matthew stood protectively between Esteban and Clarabel, his expression fierce yet cautious. What's happening? Mariana demanded anxiously. Esteban's voice was icy, filled with barely restrained fury. Your friend attempted betrayal, contacting outside authorities about our operations. Clarabel's eyes widened desperately, shaking her head fiercely. No, Mariana, it's not true. Mariana stepped quickly toward her father, voice pleading urgently. Papa, please, Clarabel is loyal. But Esteban's cold eyes never wavered, voice dangerously quiet. You've all overstayed your welcome. Guards, remove them. Chaos erupted. Instantly. Guards surged forward, Matthew shouted urgently, and Mariana's heart slammed painfully. She desperately reached toward Clarabel, panic overwhelming. No! Clarabel! Matthew grabbed Mariana protectively, his voice firm but strained. We have to leave, now! Desperation surged sharply through Mariana. Guards seized Clarabel, whose eyes filled with terrified tears, screaming Mariana's name desperately as they dragged her away. Clarabel! Mariana screamed painfully, Matthew forcing her outside toward waiting vehicles. Tears blurred her vision, grief shattering her heart as they fled hastily, leaving Clarabel behind. As they sped away from the compound, Mariana's heart felt ripped apart, guilt and despair overwhelming. She'd escaped again, but at a terrible cost. Matthew gripped her tightly, voice trembling gently. We'll get her back, I swear, Mariana. She clung desperately to his promise, yet deep inside, Mariana knew this escape was only temporary. Her father had declared war openly, and now Clarabel was trapped firmly in his ruthless grasp. Mariana closed her eyes tightly, anguish searing sharply. She'd run from her father's darkness, but his shadow stretched impossibly far, threatening. Everyone she loved. This war had just begun, and Mariana realized grimly it might cost everything she had left to win. End of Chapter 8. Chapter 9. The safe house in Panama City where they'd retreated felt cold and lifeless, a hollow shell of the luxury they'd grown accustomed to. Its plain, whitewashed walls and bare floors offered little comfort to Mariana, whose heart ached, with guilt and fear over Clarabelle's fate. Matthew paced relentlessly through the small living room, each step radiating tense energy, his fists clenching and unclenching. Leilani sat quietly on the worn leather sofa, her gaze thoughtful yet worried, hands resting protectively over her growing belly. Mariana felt trapped within her own despair, pacing alongside Matthew in silence. Clarabelle's terrified screams still echoed hauntingly in her mind, replaying endlessly. "I can't leave her there," Mariana finally whispered, breaking the heavy silence. "She's my best friend, like a sister. I owe her everything." Matthew paused, turning slowly toward her. His expression was strained yet resolute. "We'll get her back, Mariana, but we need a plan. Rushing in blindly will only put her and you in greater danger." Mariana nodded shakily, fighting back tears. Logic battled fiercely with desperation in her heart. Matthew was right. Yet the thought of Clarabelle in her father's ruthless grasp twisted painfully inside her. Leilani stood slowly, moving beside Mariana, her touch gentle but reassuring. "We'll find a way. You're not alone." Gratitude flickered momentarily within Mariana, but fear quickly extinguished it. "How? My father controls everything here. Police, politicians, even ordinary citizens fear him. Who can we trust?" Matthew's eyes darkened thoughtfully. "Maybe not the authorities, but there are others. Rivals, enemies of your father who might be willing to help weaken him." Mariana's pulse quickened anxiously. "It's risky." His gaze softened gently, determination shining clearly. "I'd risk anything for you, Mariana, and Clarabelle deserves that risk too." Over the next several days, they reached out cautiously, discreetly, to carefully chosen contacts. Matthew utilized his considerable wealth and connections, quietly arranging meetings, securing allies secretly opposed to Esteban Morales. Slowly, a tenuous coalition emerged, small but dedicated, motivated by shared hatred for Esteban's ruthless. Cartel reign. Mariana's heart surged cautiously with fragile hope. Perhaps freedom was truly within reach. One evening, as rain pounded rhythmically against windows streaked with moisture, Mariana lay awake, anxiety keeping sleep frustratingly elusive. Quiet footsteps startled her slightly. Leilani, hesitating, briefly before softly speaking, "May I join you?" Mariana nodded slowly, moving to make room. They sat quietly, the soft rain creating a comforting background. Finally, Leilani broke the silence, voice gentle yet firm. "I know you carry guilt, over Clarabelle, over Matthew, even me. But you're not responsible for your father's cruelty." Mariana sighed shakily, eyes filling again. "But it's because of me that any of you are in danger." Leilani smiled faintly, shaking her head. "Danger existed before you. Matthew always took risks. He lives fiercely. Loving him means accepting danger and beauty together." Mariana met Leilani's steady gaze thoughtfully. "Does it ever get easier, loving someone who isn't fully yours?" Leilani hesitated slightly, vulnerability flickering briefly behind her calm facade. "Honestly, no. But I've learned love isn't possession. Matthew's heart is vast. He loves us differently, yet equally. Accepting that brings peace. Mariana exhaled softly, her heart conflicted yet comforted by Leilani's honesty. You're stronger than me. Leilani gently squeezed her hand. We're both stronger together. They sat quietly, bonded by complicated love, silently promising strength amidst chaos. For now, their uneasy alliance was enough. Days passed swiftly, filled with strategic meetings, coded messages, quiet preparations. Matthew orchestrated carefully, determined to minimize risks, yet Mariana knew confrontation loomed inevitably. Finally, Matthew entered urgently one afternoon, eyes blazing fiercely. Clarabelle's location confirmed. Your father's holding. Her at a warehouse, minimal security. He thinks we won't dare attack directly. Mariana's heart surged sharply, relief mingling instantly with terror. Then we move now. Hours later, darkness cloaked the city, disguising their approach. Rain fell steadily, masking footsteps, muffling whispers. Mariana's pulse hammered painfully, every sense heightened. They reached the warehouse undetected, crouched silently, hearts pounding. Matthew gave a swift, decisive signal, then chaos erupted instantly. Gunfire shattered the quiet, shouting echoed sharply. Mariana moved quickly behind Matthew, adrenaline sharpening her senses dramatically. Amidst confusion, they slipped discreetly. Inside, searching desperately. Clarabelle! Mariana called urgently, heart racing. Where are you? A weak voice responded faintly from a locked office. Clarabelle, alive but clearly frightened. Mariana quickly forced the door open, relief overwhelming as she embraced her friend tightly, both trembling fiercely. You came for me, Clarabelle whispered tearfully. I thought I'd never see you again. Mariana smiled shakily, guiding Clarabelle quickly outside. I promised I wouldn't leave you. But victory remained tenuous. Outside, gunfire intensified suddenly, Matthew shouting, urgently. They raced desperately toward safety, hearts pounding. Mariana stumbled, fear paralyzing her momentarily as guards closed rapidly. Mariana! Matthew's voice echoed fiercely, determination blazing intensely as he rushed protectively toward her, blocking danger with his own body. Shots rang sharply, Mariana screaming desperately as Matthew fell suddenly, pain twisting his expression sharply. No! Mariana shouted, rushing urgently toward him. Blood stained his shirt frighteningly, yet Matthew's voice remained firm. Even through visible agony, Go, Mariana, take Clarabelle, Leilani, protect the babies, please. Tears blurred Mariana's vision, heart wrenching agonizingly, yet his fierce eyes demanded obedience. Guards approached swiftly, forcing Mariana painfully away, Clarabelle dragging her backward urgently. We'll come back for you, Matthew. Mariana screamed desperately, his anguished expression haunting her as they fled rapidly, barely escaping alive. Back at their safe house, Mariana collapsed weakly, sobbing uncontrollably, guilt and grief overwhelming. Clarabelle held her gently, offering silent comfort. Leilani watched quietly, eyes glistening with tears, hand protectively over her belly. Mariana whispered brokenly, anguish tearing through every word. This is my fault. Matthew paid for my mistakes. Leilani knelt slowly beside her, voice trembling yet strong. No, Matthew chose this fight because he loves fiercely. Don't dishonor his sacrifice by carrying unnecessary guilt. He'd want strength, not blame. Mariana inhaled shakily, knowing Leilani spoke truth, yet finding forgiveness nearly impossible. Her heart lay shattered, Matthew's fate unknown, their future uncertain. But grief hardened suddenly within her, determination igniting fiercely amidst pain. Her father had stolen enough: freedom, peace, now love. Mariana vowed silently, fiercely, to reclaim it all. She'd tried fleeing destiny, but now embraced it boldly. Her father declared war. Mariana would finish it, even if victory demanded everything she had left. End of Chapter 9. Chapter 10. Mariana sat motionless in the dimly lit room, the silence deafening around her. Every second dragged on painfully slow, each heartbeat echoing like a funeral drum inside her chest. Matthew's absence felt like a physical wound, raw and deep. Her mind replayed those last moments obsessively, the sound of gunfire, his voice, his eyes filled with pain and resolve. Guilt consumed her relentlessly. Clarabelle gently approached, sitting silently beside her, placing a comforting hand softly over Mariana's trembling one. "We'll find him," she whispered reassuringly. "Matthew is strong. He won't break easily." Mariana swallowed hard, blinking back tears. "He's strong, yes, but my father—" She shook her head bitterly. "I underestimated how cruel he could be." Leilani entered quietly, her usually calm demeanour now visibly shaken. Her eyes betrayed exhaustion and deep worry, but determination still burned fiercely behind her gaze. She moved toward Mariana slowly, gently placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Matthew chose this fight knowingly," Leilani said softly, her voice steady despite pain flickering clearly beneath the surface. "He believes your worth." We all do. Now we must fight just as fiercely for him." Mariana looked up, heart tightening painfully at Leilani's unwavering support. "Even after all I've cost you?" Leilani smiled faintly, sadness colouring her expression briefly. "You brought Matthew joy, Mariana. Genuine joy. Something rare in our complicated lives. I can't resent you for that." Mariana exhaled, shakily, gratitude washing momentarily over guilt. Her resolve strengthened again, remembering Matthew's fierce determination. She stood suddenly, pacing anxiously, mind racing rapidly. "We can't leave him there," she stated firmly. "Matthew risked everything for us. We owe him the same." Clarabelle hesitated cautiously. "But how? Your father's compound will be heavily guarded now. We barely escaped alive before." Mariana's jaw clenched determinedly. "Then we find another way. We still have allies. My father has enemies. If we unite them, we stand a chance." Days passed swiftly in strategic preparation. Tense meetings, whispered plans, coded messages exchanged discreetly. Mariana pushed herself, relentlessly, desperation driving away fatigue. Clarabelle stayed constantly beside her, fiercely loyal, while Leilani quietly organised logistics, calm amidst chaos. Finally, an uneasy coalition formed, a network of rivals and former allies, driven by hatred for Esteban Morales. Mariana felt fragile hope flicker cautiously within her. This could work. It had to. Late one night, Mariana lay awake, unable to sleep again, anxiety twisting painfully within her chest. Quiet footsteps approached slowly. Leilani, gently easing onto the bed beside her. "You're frightened," Leilani murmured softly, understanding clear in her voice. Mariana sighed shakily, vulnerable beneath the cover of darkness. "Terrified. My father controls everything here, and Matthew—" Her voice broke painfully. Leilani squeezed her hand reassuringly. "He's still alive. I feel it. And tomorrow we'll bring him home." Mariana turned toward Leilani slowly, heart heavy with mixed emotions. "Why don't you hate me? I've disrupted your life completely." Leilani smiled faintly, voice gentle yet firm. Because Matthew loves you, and strangely, I understand why. We share something rare, his heart. Mariana felt tears sting her eyes again. And that's enough for you? Leilani exhaled slowly, thoughtfully. I've learned love isn't about possession. Matthew's love is expansive, genuine. We don't divide it, we share it. That's enough. Mariana lay quietly, absorbing Leilani's wisdom. Finally, she whispered softly, sincerely, "Thank you." Leilani gently squeezed her hand again, both women bonded by complicated love, silently promising strength amidst chaos. The following evening arrived swiftly. Darkness cloaked their small army as they approached Esteban's heavily guarded compound discreetly. Mariana's pulse hammered painfully, adrenaline sharpening her senses dramatically. At Mariana's signal, chaos erupted swiftly, explosions shaking the compound violently, gunfire echoing sharply, confusion overtaking guards instantly. Mariana moved quickly, Clarabelle and Leilani following closely behind, weaving carefully through smoke-filled halls toward Matthew's suspected location. Heart pounding fiercely, Mariana burst urgently into a small, dimly lit room. Matthew lay battered, yet conscious, chains securing him tightly. Relief surged sharply within her chest, tears filling instantly. "Matthew!" she shouted desperately, rushing forward. He lifted his head weakly, eyes widening in disbelief and joy. "Mariana! You came!" She quickly freed him, hands trembling. Anxiously. "Of course, we'd never leave you behind." Matthew's voice trembled gently, gratitude deep within his gaze. "I knew you wouldn't." Outside, fighting intensified suddenly, Esteban's men regaining control swiftly. Panic surged sharply within Mariana. Matthew struggled to stand, leaning heavily on Mariana and Clarabelle. "Go! Quickly!" he urged urgently. They moved rapidly, dodging chaos frantically. Suddenly, Esteban's voice boomed sharply, freezing them instantly. Mariana's father approached slowly, fury blazing clearly within his cold eyes. "You betray family, Mariana, risking everything for this man?" Esteban spat bitterly. Mariana straightened defiantly, facing her father fearlessly. "I chose love over fear, freedom over control. You lost me long ago, Papa." His expression darkened dangerously, raising a weapon swiftly, pointed directly at Matthew's chest. Mariana screamed desperately, stepping protectively forward, blocking Matthew urgently. "Enough, father." Mariana's voice shook fiercely. "This ends now, or you lose everything, including me." Esteban hesitated briefly, conflict flickering momentarily within his harsh eyes. Finally, slowly, reluctantly, he lowered the weapon. "Leave, now," he commanded icily. "But this isn't over. Remember that." Heart pounding painfully, Mariana helped Matthew quickly outside, freedom finally within grasp. Clarabelle and Leilani waited anxiously, relief overwhelming as they reunited swiftly. As they escaped safely, Mariana collapsed weakly against Matthew, exhaustion overtaking adrenaline. Tears blurred her vision, emotions surging intensely. Relief, grief, hope. Matthew gently cupped her face, voice trembling softly. "You saved me, Mariana." She smiled shakily, love burning fiercely within her chest. "You saved me first." Leilani approached quietly, gently placing a comforting hand softly on Mariana's shoulder. Together, battered yet unbroken, they stood beneath moonlight's gentle glow, finally free. Yet Mariana knew victory remained tenuous. Her father's threat lingered ominously, unresolved tension hanging heavily. But she vowed silently, fiercely. This fight wasn't over. She'd reclaimed love, freedom, family, and now Mariana would protect fiercely what she'd fought so desperately to win, even if it meant confronting her father again, one final decisive battle yet to come. End of chapter. Chapter 11. Days stretched slowly into weeks as Mariana, Matthew, Clarabel and Leilani took shelter in a discreet villa nestled high in the lush hills outside Panama City. Here, beneath the thick canopy of tropical trees, life felt briefly insulated from the chaos they'd narrowly escaped. Yet everyone knew the peace was temporary, delicate as a glass poised at the edge of a table. Matthew's recovery was gradual but steady. Mariana tended to him fiercely, her affection deepened by the near loss they'd experienced. Each morning, she gently inspected his wounds, fingers tenderly brushing his bruised skin, relieved as they faded day by day. Matthew never complained, simply smiling softly at her attention, eyes quietly grateful. Leilani watched their bond quietly, her presence calm yet observant. Mariana often caught brief glimpses of sadness behind Leilani's serene facade, yet the older woman remained supportive, consistently reassuring Mariana whenever guilt crept back into her heart. Late one evening, as a gentle breeze whispered softly through open windows, Mariana found Leilani sitting quietly alone on the terrace, bathed softly in moonlight. "Couldn't sleep either?" Mariana asked gently, approaching hesitantly. Leilani smiled faintly, patting the empty seat beside her. "Too many thoughts tonight." Mariana settled quietly beside her, the two women sitting silently, absorbing the tranquil night sounds. Finally, Leilani spoke softly, voice tinged with melancholy yet gentle honesty. "Do you ever regret it, falling for Matthew, entering our complicated lives?" Mariana sighed thoughtfully, heart heavy yet clear. "Sometimes, when fear overwhelms, me or guilt feels unbearable. But then I think of his smile, his voice, how fiercely he fights for those he loves. And no, I could never truly regret loving him." Leilani nodded quietly, eyes shimmering slightly. "Love brings pain sometimes, doesn't it?" Mariana gently took Leilani's hand, squeezing reassuringly. "Yes, but also strength. And now, a strange sisterhood between us." Leilani laughed softly, warmth returning briefly to her expression. "Strange indeed, but oddly comforting." Their quiet understanding deepened. Healing wounds neither knew they carried. Whatever came next, they'd face it together, bound by complicated love yet strengthened by shared resolve. Meanwhile, Clarabel worked tirelessly, leveraging every resource, securing allies, meticulously tracking Esteban's movements. Her loyalty, unwavering, Clarabel became their strategic compass, keeping Mariana grounded when emotions clouded logic. One afternoon, Clarabel entered urgently, eyes blazing fiercely with excitement. "I've found it. Esteban's weak point. His largest shipment arrives next week, evidence strong enough to finally expose him." Mariana's pulse quickened sharply, adrenaline surging through her veins. Matthew's expression hardened determinedly. "This is our opportunity, our chance to end this nightmare permanently." Careful plans took shape swiftly, tension rising rapidly alongside fragile hope. Matthew's wounds healed enough to participate, though Mariana anxiously protested initially. He gently silenced her concerns, voice firm yet loving. "This fight began for you, Mariana, but it became ours. I'll stand beside you until we finish it." Their final evening before confrontation arrived swiftly. Mariana lay quietly beside Matthew, heart heavy with mixed emotions. Moonlight filtered softly into their room, illuminating his gentle expression clearly. "I'm frightened, Matthew," she admitted softly, voice vulnerable. "For all of us." He cupped her face tenderly, eyes gentle yet fierce. "Fear is natural, but so is courage. Remember, love brought us here. Let it carry us through." Mariana pressed closer into his comforting embrace, absorbing his strength quietly. Whatever tomorrow held, tonight belonged solely to them, love their only refuge amidst chaos. The following dawn broke quietly, deceptively calm beneath softly tinted skies. Mariana gathered quietly alongside Matthew, Clarabelle, Leilani, and their small coalition, nerves heightened dramatically. "This ends today," Mariana stated resolutely, determination blazing fiercely within her heart. "No more running, no more hiding. We fight for freedom, family, love." Their allies nodded firmly, loyalty clear within their expressions. Matthew took Mariana's hand firmly, voice ringing strongly. Together, hearts pounding anxiously, they moved silently toward confrontation. The final battle they'd avoided, dreaded, yet knew inevitably loomed ahead. Mariana whispered a quiet prayer, hand softly touching her belly protectively, vowing fiercely to protect the future she carried within her. As they approached Esteban's secret warehouse discreetly, tension thickened dramatically. Mariana steadied, herself resolutely. Whatever lay ahead, fear wouldn't rule her heart anymore. But suddenly, before they could act, urgent movement erupted swiftly around them. Guards ambushed rapidly from shadows, weapons drawn sharply, encircling their small group tightly. Mariana's heart froze instantly. Her father had anticipated their move, laying a ruthless trap expertly. Esteban emerged calmly from shadows, eyes cold, triumphant. "Predictable, Mariana. Your misplaced bravery always your weakness." Matthew shifted protectively forward, voice fierce. "Let her go, Esteban. Your fight is with me." Esteban laughed humorlessly, eyes narrowed dangerously. "Foolish gringo. My fight is family betrayal. Mariana must answer." Fear surged sharply within Mariana, desperation overwhelming briefly. But suddenly, surprising courage ignited fiercely, her voice shaking yet defiant. "No, Papa, this fight is yours alone. You chose cruelty, control, violence. I choose love, freedom, family, things you'll never understand." Silence stretched tensely, Esteban's expression darkening furiously, conflict raging openly beneath. Carefully maintained control. Finally, coldly, he motioned guards forward sharply. "Arrest them all, Mariana first." Chaos erupted instantly. Guards surged swiftly forward. Mariana screamed desperately. Panic overwhelming briefly. Matthew struggling fiercely beside her. Clarabelle shouting urgently. Yet suddenly, more movement burst unexpectedly around them. Police. Officers stormed swiftly inside, weapons drawn expertly, voices demanding immediate surrender. Esteban's eyes widened momentarily, realization dawning sharply. His betrayal exposed, authorities finally moving decisively. Clarabelle smiled faintly, relief clear behind exhaustion. "My contacts came through. Finally." Guards dropped weapons. Swiftly, Esteban standing motionless, stunned yet dignified even in defeat. His gaze met Mariana's briefly, complicated emotions flickering momentarily beneath anger. Finally, quietly, he surrendered peacefully, acknowledging defeat silently. Relief overwhelmed Mariana intensely, knees weakening instantly. Matthew caught her gently, holding firmly yet tenderly, murmuring softly, "We're finally safe." Yet Mariana, new resolution remained complicated. Her father's arrest marked victory, yet sadness lingered quietly within her heart. Still they'd reclaimed freedom, peace, things once hopeless dreams, now tangible reality. As authorities secured Esteban firmly, Mariana stood quietly alongside Matthew, Clarabel, Leilani, her complicated yet fiercely loyal family finally secure, safe, bonded permanently, yet Mariana knew their story wasn't over. Now began new struggles, healing, rebuilding, redefining love's boundaries amidst complicated lives. But beneath Panama's gentle sunlight, freedom finally tangible around them, Mariana's heart lifted hopefully. Whatever lay ahead, they'd face it boldly, courageously, united always by love's complicated yet powerful strength. End of Chapter 11. Chapter 12. In the aftermath of her father's arrest, life slowly began to regain colour for Mariana, like a faded photograph gradually coming back into focus. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, the threat that had shadowed, her every step seemed to retreat, bit by bit, into memory. The luxurious villa they'd relocated to along the Pacific coast was surrounded by vibrant tropical gardens, palms swaying gently under endless skies of blue. Salt air mingled with the delicate fragrance of blooming hibiscus, filling each breath with a sense of renewal. Though peace had returned, Mariana found herself continually looking over her shoulder, unable to fully trust that the storm had truly passed. Matthew recovered steadily, the bruises and bandages gradually giving way to healed scars, a quiet testimony to the battles they had endured. Mariana watched him carefully each day, her heart swelling with admiration and love, though the lingering guilt occasionally resurfaced, nagging at her peace. Matthew always noticed, gently pulling her back from her troubled thoughts with a reassuring squeeze of her hand or a whispered joke that made her smile despite herself. Leilani, too, flourished in this newfound peace, her pregnancy progressing beautifully. But Mariana often caught glimpses of something quiet and unresolved behind her serene demeanour. Their delicate bond had grown stronger, forged through shared danger, heartbreak, and an acceptance that neither had fully anticipated. One warm evening, Mariana sat on the veranda, lost in thought as the sun dipped slowly below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of deep gold and soft violet. Footsteps approached softly, and Leilani quietly joined her, easing gracefully into the chair beside her. "Are you thinking about him?" Leilani asked gently, her gaze following Mariana's toward Matthew, who stood talking animatedly with Clarabel near the garden below. Mariana exhaled softly, a faint smile crossing her lips. "Always. But lately, I find myself thinking about you just as often." Leilani's expression warmed slightly, curiosity flickering behind her eyes. "Me?" Mariana nodded thoughtfully, voice quiet yet sincere. "You've shown me kindness I didn't expect or deserve. I've disrupted your life, brought chaos, complications, but you welcomed me anyway." Leilani sighed gently, her eyes reflecting compassion and honesty. "At first I resented you, I won't pretend otherwise, but I've learned something through all of this. Matthew doesn't love in fragments. His heart isn't divided between us. Somehow it expands to hold us both." Mariana absorbed Leilani's words silently, her own heart feeling lighter at the unexpected insight. "And that's enough for you? Truly?" Leilani smiled faintly, touching her belly gently. "I've come to realize love doesn't belong to us. It flows through us. Matthew brought you into our lives for a reason. Maybe we're meant to be Family, however unconventional. Mariana's eyes misted briefly, warmth filling her chest. Family, she repeated softly, tasting the word carefully. I haven't felt that since my mother. Leilani reached over, gently squeezing Mariana's hand, the gesture silently solidifying their understanding. Mariana squeezed back gratefully, feeling for the first time a genuine sisterhood forming between them. Suddenly, Matthew called from below, waving cheerfully. Are you two plotting up there? Mariana laughed softly, calling back teasingly. Maybe. You should be worried. Matthew's smile widened playfully, shaking his head as he climbed the veranda steps toward them. I always am when you two team up. Clarabelle followed closely, carrying a tray of fresh pineapple slices and cold coconut water. She set the tray down, eyes sparkling with amusement. If anyone should be worried, it's me. The last time you three got together, we ended up fleeing the cartel. Mariana laughed, warmth radiating through her. The atmosphere around them was finally beginning to feel normal, light, carefree, hopeful. Later that night, as darkness settled peacefully around the villa, Mariana lay awake beside Matthew, her head resting comfortably against his chest, listening to the gentle rhythm of his heartbeat. Matthew? She whispered softly, breaking the comfortable silence. Yes, Mariana, he replied sleepily, fingers gently brushing through her hair. Do you ever regret any of this? Me, us, everything I've brought into your life? He shifted slightly, pulling her closer. Not for a second. You brought me purpose, adventure, passion. Yes, chaos too, but that's the price of truly living. Without you, I was existing comfortably. Now I'm alive. Mariana smiled softly into his skin, heart swelling fiercely. I still can't believe you chose me. Matthew tilted her chin gently, eyes intensely sincere. I'd choose you 1,000 times more, Mariana. Even knowing every hardship, every pain, you're worth it. Mariana's throat tightened emotionally, tears gathering quietly. I love you, Matthew. He kissed her tenderly, warmth enveloping her completely. And I love you, always. In that moment, as sleep finally overtook her, Mariana felt genuinely safe, completely loved. It was a feeling she'd thought impossible to reclaim. Yet here, beneath moonlight's gentle embrace, she found herself believing again. Days flowed swiftly into weeks, and soon Mariana felt the undeniable flutters of new life within her, soft yet strong movements that filled her with awe and fierce protectiveness. She shared these tender moments openly with Leilani, who celebrated joyfully alongside her, the women united not only by their shared love for Matthew, but now by motherhood. But as their pregnancies advanced, Mariana knew another. Confrontation still loomed. Her father's trial neared, a public spectacle certain to reopen painful wounds. She wrestled internally, uncertain if forgiveness could ever soften the bitterness she still carried toward him. On the eve before Esteban's trial, Mariana stood, quietly beside the ocean, waves gently caressing her feet, moonlight illuminating the gentle curve of her belly. Matthew approached silently, wrapping protective arms around her from behind. Are you ready for tomorrow? He asked softly, his voice filled with concern. Mariana sighed deeply, conflicted. Honestly, I don't know. Part of me hopes to see him face justice. Another part aches because he's still my father. Matthew gently turned her to face him, eyes kind yet strong. Whatever you decide tomorrow, forgiveness or condemnation, I'll stand beside you. But remember this, your father's crimes aren't yours. Let go of guilt. Mariana rested her head gently against his chest, drawing comfort from his unwavering support. "You make everything feel possible, Matthew." He kissed her hair softly, holding her tightly. "Together, anything is." As they stood quietly, Mariana felt new resolve blossoming within her. Tomorrow would bring painful confrontation, but also closure, a chance to finally heal fully. She would face it courageously, choosing love over fear, freedom over bitterness. Her journey had been long, complicated, filled with heartbreak and chaos. Yet somehow Mariana had emerged stronger, no longer the frightened girl fleeing control, but a powerful woman embracing love's complexities openly. She had Matthew's fierce heart, Leilani's gentle strength, Clarabelle's loyal friendship. And soon, new life would add another beautiful chapter to their unconventional family story. Whatever tomorrow held, Mariana knew she would not face it alone. Together, they'd overcome storms thought insurmountable, fighting fiercely for freedom, love, and family. One final battle awaited, but Mariana was ready. End of Chapter 12. Chapter 13. The courthouse buzzed like a hive disturbed, swarming with reporters, camera crews, and curious spectators, hoping to catch a glimpse of the notorious Esteban Morales and his infamous cartel empire crumbling publicly. Mariana's pulse quickened as they arrived, the overwhelming energy of the crowd heightening her anxiety. Matthew's reassuring grip on her hand steadied her, silently promising strength amidst chaos. Clarabelle walked ahead, fiercely protective, guiding them. Through the relentless sea of bodies shouting questions, camera flashes temporarily blinding Mariana. Leilani remained close behind, expression calm yet watchful, determinedly shielding Mariana from intrusive attention. Inside, the courtroom felt stiflingly formal. Dark wood panelling, cold marble floors, rows of stiff-backed chairs filled with serious, judgmental eyes watching every movement. Mariana inhaled shakily, heart pounding as Esteban entered quietly from a side door, escorted firmly by armed officers. Her father appeared older, visibly wearied by confinement, yet he maintained dignified composure, expression neutral, but gaze immediately locking sharply onto Mariana. She held his stare defiantly, forcing herself to remain steady even as old fears stirred painfully inside her chest. Matthew's presence beside her strengthened Mariana's resolve. She wasn't alone anymore. As the judge began proceedings, Mariana listened tensely, fingers tightening anxiously around Matthew's hand. Witness after witness detailed Esteban's ruthless control, his violence, corruption, every crime Mariana had desperately fled from. Hearing the truth openly spoken felt strangely liberating, yet also deeply painful, reopening wounds not yet fully healed. Finally, Mariana herself was called forward. Legs trembling slightly, she stood slowly, approaching the witness stand. Matthew squeezed her hand gently, silently encouraging strength. Heart hammering fiercely, Mariana raised her chin, facing the courtroom resolutely. As attorneys questioned, Mariana shared truthfully yet carefully, detailing her father's controlling nature, the arranged marriage she'd fled, and the terror of living beneath his shadow. The room listened silently, captivated yet respectfully solemn. Yet when asked about Esteban directly, Mariana hesitated briefly, heart conflicted painfully. She inhaled shakily, finally speaking quietly yet firmly. He was cruel, controlling, but he was still my father. Part of me loved him, despite everything. Esteban's expression briefly shifted subtly, surprise and remorse flickering faintly behind harsh composure. Their gazes met silently, a lifetime of complicated emotions passing quietly between them. Finally, Mariana concluded resolutely, voice clear yet heavy with sadness. I escaped him, but I forgive him, for myself, my child, and the life I've chosen. His actions deserve justice, but I release bitterness. My life is my own now. The courtroom murmured softly, stunned yet moved. Mariana stepped down quietly, Matthew quickly embracing her gently, pride shining clearly within his eyes. Esteban remained silent, gaze lowered thoughtfully, expression unreadable. The trial swiftly concluded, jury deliberations brief yet decisive, guilty, verdicts delivered confidently. Mariana exhaled slowly, relief mingled with sadness, knowing justice prevailed, yet mourning what could never be. Afterward, Claribel guided Mariana safely outside through crowds once again, exhaustion settling heavily within her chest. As they reached awaiting vehicles, an officer approached Mariana discreetly, offering quietly, "Your father wishes briefly to speak with you." Mariana hesitated briefly, then nodded slowly, turning toward Esteban cautiously. He stood quietly nearby, guarded yet dignified, remorse visible beneath carefully maintained composure. "You spoke bravely, Mariana," Esteban stated quietly, gaze meeting hers sincerely. "I failed you as a father, yet seeing your strength today brings strange pride." Mariana inhaled shakily, emotions warring fiercely within her heart. "I wish things had been different, Papa, but forgiveness is the only path forward now for both of us." He nodded slowly, thoughtfully. "Perhaps in another lifetime I might have deserved you as my daughter. But you chose better paths. I accept punishment deserved, hoping someday your child will understand why." Tears filled Mariana's eyes silently, grief mixed with unexpected compassion. "I'll teach forgiveness, not bitterness." Esteban smiled faintly, sadness colouring his expression briefly. "Then you've already won." He turned quietly away, officers guiding him firmly toward awaiting transport. Mariana stood motionless briefly, heart heavy yet finally feeling true closure, freedom not only physically, but emotionally. Matthew approached quietly, wrapping gentle arms protectively around her trembling frame. "You okay?" Mariana exhaled, shakily nodding slowly. "For the first time, yes, I think I am." In the following weeks, life gradually regained normalcy, peacefully mundane routines finally replacing constant fear and tension. Mariana embraced quiet moments gratefully, lazy afternoons spent lounging beside Matthew, watching sunsets paint skies vivid colours, evenings sharing laughter, and stories around dinner tables filled with warmth and genuine affection. Their pregnancies advanced smoothly, Mariana often joining Leilani during appointments, the women sharing excitement and nerves openly. Matthew remained steadfastly supportive, equally attentive to both women, his heart genuinely expansive enough to love them fully, without jealousy or resentment. Mariana marvelled at their unconventional yet deeply fulfilling family bond, a connection she'd never anticipated yet now cherished fiercely. Claribel, too, flourished beautifully, finally embracing newfound freedom fully. She became Matthew's trusted business partner, confidently managing operations, thriving amidst stability and genuine friendship. Mariana felt immense pride seeing her best friend finally safe, empowered, truly happy. Months passed swiftly, anxieties replaced steadily by joyful anticipation. One sunny morning, Mariana awoke gently beside Matthew, feeling strange yet unmistakable, sensations intensifying rapidly. She turned urgently toward him, excitement surging powerfully through her veins. "Matthew, The baby's coming! His eyes widened instantly, excitement mingled briefly with panic before quickly organising swiftly. Claribel hurriedly coordinated preparations calmly, while Leilani, equally advanced in pregnancy, remained calmly reassuring despite her own approaching due date. Hours later, Mariana gently cradled a beautiful baby girl tenderly within exhausted, yet joyful arms, tears streaming silently down smiling cheeks. Matthew stood quietly beside her, eyes shining proudly, gently kissing Mariana's forehead softly. "What should we name her?" he asked tenderly, gently touching their daughter's soft cheek. Mariana smiled warmly, voice gently certain. "Ariana, meaning most holy." A fresh start, finally free. Matthew nodded lovingly, carefully holding Ariana gently, awe illuminating his gentle expression. Moments later, news arrived joyfully. Leilani had also delivered safely, welcoming a beautiful daughter named Elena. That evening, beneath moonlight's gentle glow illuminating peaceful waves softly caressing sandy shores nearby, their unconventional, yet deeply loving family gathered quietly together, joyfully celebrating new life amidst shared gratitude and love. Mariana smiled contentedly, heart finally at peace. Her journey had been complex, filled with pain, fear, loss, yet ultimately love triumphed powerfully, shaping strength she'd never imagined possible. Beside Matthew, Leilani, Claribel, and their precious newborn daughters, Mariana finally felt whole. Whatever adventures or challenges lay ahead, they'd face together, bound fiercely by love's complexities yet beautifully free. Life was unpredictable, but Mariana knew they'd always overcome, united forever by hard-won love, forgiveness, freedom. The storm had finally passed, leaving only clear skies ahead. End of Chapter 13. Chapter 14. Life settled gently into a rhythm Mariana had dreamed about, but never fully believed possible. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, each sunrise bringing new peace and joy into their unconventional yet beautiful family. Their villa, nestled along the Panamanian coastline, had become more than just a safe haven. It was home. Mariana embraced motherhood wholeheartedly. Ariana grew rapidly, a lively reflection of both her parents, Mariana's eyes, Matthew's, confident grin and a personality brighter than sunshine. Matthew, enchanted by fatherhood, often spent afternoons carrying his daughter proudly around the gardens, pointing out flowers and birds, his voice gentle and filled with awe. Leilani thrived as well, Elena bringing her happiness Mariana deeply admired. Their bond strengthened further through shared late-night feedings, exhausted laughter exchanged over coffee at sunrise, and quiet conversations about dreams for their daughters' futures. Mariana often marvelled at how natural it felt, this complicated, shared life rooted deeply in genuine friendship. Claribel continued blossoming beautifully, confidently managing Matthew's expanding hotel business, becoming an indispensable part of their family. She often visited, bringing treats, cheerful gossip, and warm companionship, the villa constantly filled with laughter and genuine affection. Yet Mariana couldn't ignore the quiet, lingering ache still present deep within. Her heart, unresolved memories regarding her mother, a chapter she'd avoided confronting. Her father's trial, his punishment, had given closure regarding him, yet her mother remained a distant, unanswered question. One warm afternoon, Mariana sat quietly beneath gently swaying palms, watching Matthew chase Ariana playfully through soft grass, her laughter ringing beautifully. Claribel and Leilani lounged nearby, chatting happily, Elena sleeping peacefully in Leilani's arms. Suddenly, Mariana felt an overwhelming longing, a need to reconnect finally with the woman whose Presence had shaped her deeply, yet remained unresolved. She spoke softly, voice hesitant yet determined. I need to see my mother again, confront that past fully before truly moving forward. Matthew paused, approaching gently, understanding visible within his warm gaze. Then we'll go together, face whatever awaits as family. Clarabel smiled, warmly, supportive as always. We'll all come with you. You're not alone, Mariana. Days later, they journeyed discreetly back to Mariana's childhood home, now eerily quiet, yet still beautifully maintained. Anxiety stirred within Mariana as she entered, memories flooding powerfully, both joyful and painful. Her mother awaited them silently within familiar rooms, her expression worn yet dignified. Seeing Mariana, tears filled her mother's eyes instantly, emotions complicated yet deeply sincere. Mariana, she whispered brokenly, stepping forward uncertainly. You've returned. Mariana hesitated briefly, emotions overwhelming briefly. Then finally, heart opening gently, she embraced her mother warmly, tears falling silently between them. I needed closure, Mariana admitted softly, pulling back slightly. To finally forgive fully, move forward freely. Her mother nodded tearfully, understanding clearly visible within her gentle expression. You deserved better from us both, Mariana. I'm sorry, for everything. Mariana smiled faintly, peace finally settling gently within her heart. I accept your apology, Mama, but now we choose differently. Gently, Mariana introduced Ariana tenderly, Matthew standing proudly beside her. Her mother's eyes softened immediately, awe illuminating clearly within her gaze. She's beautiful, she whispered emotionally. You created life from pain, choosing, freedom, forgiveness. I'm proud, Mariana. Heart swelling gently, Mariana smiled warmly, deeply grateful for this moment. Healing finally fully realized. Returning home afterward, Mariana felt lighter, heart finally unburdened fully. Beside Matthew, Clarabel, Leilani, and their precious daughters, she finally felt complete, past resolved, future brightly awaiting exploration. Weeks flowed gently, happiness permeating every quiet moment. Yet Mariana sensed Matthew silently, wrestling internally, some unresolved thought weighing quietly upon him. She confronted him softly one night, voice gentle yet concerned. What troubles you, Matthew? He sighed heavily, gaze conflicted yet sincere. My hotel project in Florida needs attention, but leaving you, our family, feels impossible. Mariana smiled reassuringly, gently squeezing his hand lovingly. Then we go together, all of us. Your dreams deserve attention too. Surprise briefly flashed across Matthew's expression, quickly replaced by warm relief. You'd do that, leave here, our home, temporarily? She smiled warmly, sincere determination clearly visible within her gaze. Home is wherever we're together. Days later, their family settled comfortably into luxurious accommodations, Matthew carefully prepared in Miami. Stunning ocean views, vibrant nightlife nearby, yet peaceful serenity within their private space. Their romantic Florida getaway quickly became a beautiful chapter. Lazy mornings exploring beaches, afternoons wandering markets, evenings enjoying candlelit dinners overlooking gentle waves. Mariana relished seeing Matthew energized passionately by his project, confidently managing operations, finally fulfilling dreams once overshadowed by danger. Yet amidst happiness, Mariana remained watchful, silently guarding Matthew's vulnerability. Knowing, leaving Panama might reopen risks, danger they'd narrowly escaped. Matthew assured her repeatedly they were safe, yet Mariana's protective instincts never fully quieted. One beautiful evening, strolling gently beside softly crashing waves beneath, moonlight's silvery glow, Matthew paused suddenly, expression quietly reflective. Mariana turned curiously, sensing deeper thoughts behind his gentle eyes. "Mariana, I need complete honesty," he began hesitantly, voice gentle yet clearly anxious. "Can you truly accept this life, sharing my heart, knowing it sometimes means division?" Mariana smiled reassuringly, gently cupping his face lovingly. "Matthew, your heart doesn't divide, it expands beautifully. I never imagined choosing love this complicated, yet it brought me freedom, strength, family. Yes, difficulties remain, but you're worth every struggle." Relief illuminated Matthew's expression beautifully, his eyes shimmering softly beneath, moonlight's gentle touch. "And you'll stay, through every complexity ahead." Mariana nodded warmly, sincere devotion shining clearly within her gaze. "Forever." He kissed her passionately beneath starry skies, gently illuminating ocean waves, softly caressing sandy shores nearby. Mariana melted deeply into his embrace, heart finally fully trusting love's complicated yet powerfully beautiful strength. Returning comfortably toward their accommodations afterward, Mariana felt true peace. Unresolved questions finally answered. Past healed fully, future brightly awaiting exploration. Beside Matthew, Leilani, Clarabel, and their precious daughters, she finally belonged genuinely, completely. Yet Mariana knew challenges inevitably awaited ahead, complicated love's boundaries constantly testing strength, resolve. But now, she embraced complexities boldly, unafraid, fiercely protective of the beautiful family she'd finally found. Life had tested her repeatedly. Danger, heartbreak, control she'd desperately fled. Yet now, standing confidently within love's complicated yet powerful embrace, Mariana finally knew truth deeply within her heart. Love always triumphed, even amidst chaos, complexities, hardships. Love chose freedom, forgiveness, family, guiding Mariana finally fully home. End of Chapter 14. Chapter 15. Miami sparkled beneath the golden glow of early evening, the sky painted in vivid shades of coral, violet, and amber, as Mariana stood on the spacious balcony overlooking the city's vibrant pulse. The warm ocean breeze caressed her skin softly, carrying the scent of salt and distant hibiscus blossoms, grounding her in a rare moment of perfect serenity. Their temporary home in Matthew's luxurious Miami penthouse had quickly become a sanctuary, a beautiful refuge filled with laughter, warmth, and quiet intimacy. Mariana smiled, watching Matthew below as he strolled along the beach with Ariana perched joyfully upon his shoulders, her delighted squeals floating upward gently on the evening air. Leilani sat beside her quietly, cradling Elena tenderly, contentment visible within her serene expression. Clarabel lounged nearby, sipping a mojito, eyes sparkling with playful mischief as she teased Matthew from afar, her laughter mixing freely with Ariana's giggles. Mariana felt profoundly grateful. This, unconventional yet deeply fulfilling family she'd unexpectedly found, brought joy she'd scarcely believed possible. Yet even amidst happiness, a lingering awareness quietly remained. Matthew's heart was expansive, yet inevitably complicated. Embracing their lifestyle fully required constant patience, understanding, open communication. She turned gently toward Leilani, voice thoughtful yet deeply sincere. "Do you ever wonder about our future, raising daughters amidst such complexities?" Leilani smiled faintly, eyes reflecting gentle understanding. Often. But we teach love, honesty, respect. If we model acceptance openly, complexities become strengths, not weaknesses. Mariana nodded thoughtfully, absorbing Leilani's quiet wisdom. I admire your calm acceptance. I struggle still sometimes. Leilani gently squeezed Mariana's hand reassuringly. Acceptance comes slowly, but Matthew's love is genuine. Trust its strength. Below, Matthew glanced upward, noticing them watching quietly from above. He waved cheerfully, his confident smile instantly warming Mariana's heart deeply. She waved, back playfully, laughter bubbling gently within her chest. Suddenly, Clarabel approached Mariana teasingly, eyes sparkling mischievously. You're both staring at him again, hopelessly love-struck. Mariana laughed softly, lightly nudging Clarabel playfully. You're one to talk. I've seen your newest admirer visiting the lobby lately. Clarabel feigned exaggerated innocence, dramatically placing a hand upon her chest. Me? Impossible, I'm strictly professional. Their shared laughter filled the quiet balcony warmly, genuine affection clearly visible within their easy interactions. Mariana cherished these carefree moments deeply, happiness once rare, now a beautifully constant companion. That evening, Mariana relaxed comfortably beside Matthew, beneath moonlight's gentle illumination, softly touching tranquil ocean waves nearby. Ariana slept peacefully within her room, soft breathing audible through partially open doors, gently admitting ocean breezes. Matthew gently stroked Mariana's hair softly, voice quietly reflective. I never imagined happiness like this. Family, stability, genuine love. You've given me gifts beyond measure, Mariana. She smiled warmly, nestling comfortably closer within his protective embrace. Love chose us unexpectedly, but now I couldn't imagine differently. He tilted her chin gently upward, eyes sincerely devoted beneath gentle moonlight. Yet complexities remain inevitable. Sharing love openly requires constant strength. Can you still accept this life fully, knowing its challenges? Mariana smiled, reassuringly, voice unwaveringly certain. Fully, Matthew, always. Your love is beautifully complicated, yet fiercely genuine. I'd face every complexity willingly, beside you. Relief illuminated Matthew's gentle expression warmly, his kiss, passionately reaffirming love's powerful strength, binding them tightly together. Mariana melted deeply within his embrace, heart finally fully trusting love's beautifully complicated, yet powerfully transformative embrace. Days flowed swiftly afterward, filled with joyful exploration around vibrant Miami, visits exploring, markets filled with exotic fruits, evenings savouring delicious seafood beneath softly twinkling string lights, illuminating oceanside restaurants peacefully nestled within gentle waves' soft caress nearby. Yet amidst happiness, Mariana occasionally wondered quietly what future awaited beyond temporary stays, fleeting vacations. Matthew's hotel project neared successful completion, soon requiring decisions regarding permanent home locations, balancing family priorities amidst professional responsibilities. Finally, one beautiful evening, Matthew gathered everyone warmly, beneath gently illuminated palm trees softly rustling within ocean breezes, whispering quietly nearby. His expression radiated sincerity, devotion clearly visible within his eyes warmly meeting Mariana's. Our journey began complicated. Danger, uncertainties constantly shadowing happiness. Yet together we've built beautiful stability, family bonded fiercely by love's powerful strength amidst complexities. Matthew spoke gently, voice emotionally sincere. Now decisions await regarding our permanent future. Yet wherever we choose, Panama's quiet tranquility, Miami's vibrant energy, family remains our strongest foundation. Home isn't location. It's wherever love binds us tightly together, complexities willingly embraced openly, lovingly. He paused gently, eyes warmly meeting Mariana's sincerely devoted gaze, deeply moved emotionally within her heart. Wherever we go, I choose forever beside you. Love's beautiful complexities guiding every decision openly, honestly. Tears shimmered softly within Mariana's eyes, deeply moved, gratitude filling her heart fiercely. She smiled warmly, sincerely devoted beneath gentle moonlight, softly illuminating ocean waves quietly nearby. Then, let's decide openly, together, united by love's complicated yet powerful strength, she replied warmly, sincerity clearly visible. Within her eyes, lovingly meeting Matthew's devoted gaze beneath gentle moonlight's quiet illumination. Leilani smiled warmly nearby, supportive as always. Together sounds perfect. Clarabelle laughed softly, raising her glass playfully. Then here's to forever. Love's beautifully complicated yet powerfully binding strength uniting us all. They clinked glasses warmly beneath gentle moonlight, softly illuminating peaceful ocean waves, gently caressing sandy shores quietly nearby. Family finally fully embracing complexities openly, joyfully, lovingly. Whatever decisions lay ahead, Mariana trusted love's complicated yet powerful strength fully, guiding them boldly forward, fears replaced permanently by courageously embracing family, forgiveness, freedom. Her journey had begun fearfully fleeing control, danger, yet ended powerfully choosing love's beautifully complicated yet fiercely genuine embrace, openly, honestly, permanently. Whatever adventures awaited ahead, Mariana felt fully prepared, heart finally trusting love's powerful strength, guiding forever forward united boldly, complexities willingly embraced openly, joyfully. The storm had finally passed fully, leaving Mariana warmly basking beneath gentle moonlight, softly illuminating beautiful futures awaiting brightly ahead. Love always triumphed, complexities becoming beautiful strengths bonding family fiercely, permanently, lovingly united forever. End of chapter 15. Epilogue. 2 years later. Panama. Private estate. Near the Pacific coast, golden sunlight streamed softly through expansive windows, casting a warm glow across Mariana's spacious living room, where laughter echoed joyfully off polished marble floors. It was Ariana's second birthday, and the air was rich with the aromas of freshly baked cake, tropical fruits, and vibrant flowers gathered from the surrounding gardens. Mariana stood quietly, observing the joyful chaos unfolding around her. Matthew gently swung Ariana into his arms, tickling her until her laughter erupted loudly, infectious and pure. Eleanor toddled alongside Leilani, eyes wide with wonder, as colourful balloons floated gently around them, catching in soft afternoon breezes drifting through open terrace doors. Clarabelle moved gracefully through guests, smiling warmly, effortlessly ensuring every detail remained perfect. Her fiancé, Javier, a charming manager she'd met at Matthew's Miami hotel, stood beside her proudly, hand resting protectively on Clarabelle's noticeably round belly. Mariana smiled warmly, her heart swelling joyfully, seeing Clarabelle finally finding happiness she genuinely deserved. Life had changed dramatically yet beautifully over 2 peaceful years. Mariana and Matthew had chosen Panama as their permanent home, building a stunning private estate nestled securely along pristine coastline, safe yet accessible, luxurious yet peacefully private. Matthew continued overseeing successful hotel ventures internationally, yet home remained permanently here, firmly rooted within Mariana's gentle embrace and their daughter's joyful laughter. Mariana cherished every quiet moment deeply. Sunrise, breakfast shared softly with Matthew, afternoons exploring sandy beaches with Ariana and Eleanor, evenings gathering warmly around dinner tables filled with genuine affection, lively conversations, heartfelt laughter echoing gently beneath softly, illuminated patio lights twinkling warmly beneath star-filled skies, quietly illuminating tranquil ocean waves caressing shores nearby. Their family remained unconventional yet profoundly fulfilling. Mariana and Leilani's bond continued strengthening beautifully. Deep friendship, born originally from complicated circumstances, now blossoming warmly into genuine sisterhood. Together, they navigated motherhood openly, honestly, sharing challenges, joys, wisdom openly exchanged beneath moonlight's gentle embrace, softly illuminating tranquil evenings spent comfortably beneath expansive veranda spaces, overlooking beautiful gardens flourishing vibrantly. Matthew's expansive heart genuinely embraced complexities beautifully. Loving Mariana and Leilani openly, honestly, equally devotedly, his genuine affection visibly evident within every gentle touch, sincere glance, heartfelt word exchanged openly, lovingly. Mariana finally fully trusted love's beautifully complicated, yet fiercely powerful embrace completely. Strength found openly within complexities, embraced willingly, joyfully. Now, surrounded lovingly by family celebrating joyful milestones, openly, Mariana's heart swelled gratefully, peace finally found genuinely, happiness once scarcely imagined now warmly constant companions, guiding life gently forward beneath tranquil Panama sunlight, softly illuminating beautiful futures awaiting, brightly ahead. Later that evening, as quiet descended softly around their peaceful estate, Mariana stood alone briefly upon gently illuminated terraces, softly overlooking ocean waves, quietly caressing sandy shores nearby. Matthew approached gently from behind, wrapping protective arms tenderly around her waist, voice softly reflective yet deeply loving. "Did you ever imagine life turning out this beautifully complicated?" he asked quietly, sincerity clearly evident within gentle moonlight, softly illuminating his devoted gaze, warmly meeting Mariana's loving eyes, deeply moved emotionally. Mariana smiled warmly, gently cupping his face lovingly. Not even within wildest dreams. Yet now, complexities are beautiful strengths, family bonded fiercely by love's genuine embrace openly chosen, willingly embraced. Matthew smiled. Softly, relief warmly illuminating gentle expression, deeply moved emotionally within Mariana's heart, fiercely swelling gratefully, beneath moonlight's quiet illumination, softly illuminating ocean waves caressing shores gently nearby. "Would you change anything, knowing every struggle, hardship, complexity faced openly?" he asked quietly, sincerity visible within devoted gaze warmly meeting Mariana's loving eyes, clearly reflecting gratitude, genuinely deeply felt emotionally. She smiled softly, shaking head warmly. Never. Every hardship shaped strength found openly within complexities embraced boldly, joyfully. Love guided us powerfully here, finally genuinely home. Matthew kissed her tenderly, warmth enveloping gently beneath moonlight's soft illumination, quietly illuminating peaceful ocean waves, gently caressing shores softly nearby. Mariana melted deeply within his embrace, heart finally fully trusting. Love's beautifully complicated yet fiercely genuine embrace, guiding forever forward beneath peaceful Panama moonlight, softly illuminating tranquil future, awaiting brightly ahead. From doorway behind them, soft footsteps approached gently, Leilani quietly joining them warmly, eyes softly reflecting gentle understanding, clearly visible beneath moonlight, softly illuminating peaceful terraces, overlooking tranquil ocean waves, caressing shores quietly nearby. May I interrupt briefly? She asked gently, warm smile softly illuminating gentle expression, clearly reflecting genuine affection openly felt emotionally. Mariana smiled warmly, reaching gently outward, embracing Leilani lovingly within, shared warmth gently beneath moonlight's soft illumination, quietly illuminating tranquil ocean waves, gently caressing shores softly nearby. Always, Leilani. Family never interrupts. You're always welcomed openly, Mariana replied softly, sincerity clearly visible within devoted gaze, warmly meeting Leilani's gentle eyes, deeply moved emotionally. Matthew wrapped protective, arms gently around both women warmly, smiling sincerely beneath moonlight's quiet illumination, softly illuminating terraces overlooking peaceful ocean waves, gently caressing shores softly nearby. Together, beneath gentle Panama moonlight, softly illuminating peaceful ocean waves, quietly caressing sandy shores nearby, their beautifully unconventional yet fiercely devoted family stood silently embracing complexities openly, joyfully, lovingly, united forever forward beneath tranquil moonlight, softly illuminating peaceful futures awaiting brightly ahead. Life had tested Mariana repeatedly. Danger, heartbreak, control fled fearfully, yet ultimately overcome powerfully, choosing love's beautifully complicated yet fiercely genuine embrace, guiding forever forward beneath peaceful Panama moonlight, softly illuminating beautiful family finally genuinely home. The storm had finally passed permanently, leaving Mariana warmly basking forever within love's complicated yet powerfully binding strength, permanently guiding life gently forward, beneath tranquil moonlight, softly illuminating beautiful future awaiting brightly ahead. Love always triumphed, complications beautifully strengthening family forever bonded fiercely, permanently, lovingly beneath tranquil moonlight, softly illuminating peaceful futures awaiting boldly ahead. The end. Discussion questions. Mariana faced a difficult choice between duty to her family and pursuing personal freedom. If you were Mariana, would you have fled an arranged marriage even knowing the danger involved? Why or why not? Matthew kept his polygynous lifestyle hidden initially, complicating his relationship with Mariana. Was Matthew justified in keeping his lifestyle secret at first? How would you feel if your partner withheld such significant information? Leilani showed remarkable understanding and acceptance of Mariana, despite initial pain. If you were in Leilani's position, could you accept sharing your spouse's love openly? What emotions would you struggle with most? Mariana forgave her father despite his controlling and dangerous behavior. Could you have forgiven Esteban Morales if he were your father? Is forgiveness always necessary to move forward in life? Claribel stood fiercely loyal to Mariana throughout intense dangers and complicated situations. Have you ever had a friendship tested by adversity? How far would you go to protect or support your closest friend? Mariana eventually embraced an unconventional family dynamic, prioritizing love over societal norms. Would you be willing to challenge cultural expectations or societal judgment for your own happiness? What boundaries could you or couldn't you cross? The book portrays polygyny in a realistic, complex, and emotional way. After reading Mariana's story, how has your perspective on non-traditional relationships changed or remained the same? Do you believe that unconventional love can truly thrive? Thank you for listening. Please be sure to leave your answers in the comments section below, and as always, please subscribe for more unethical monogamous novels. Hope you enjoyed the novel. Have a great day!